Welcome to the verse, citizen. My name is Drew Wager, a lifelong fan of detailed and immersive space games. If, like me, you're just starting out, but want an overview of this remarkable game, you've come to the right place. This is an introduction to Star Citizen. It's fair to say that Star Citizen has achieved a fair degree of notoriety in the space game genre. Begun back in 2012, although with pre-production in 2010 onwards, and initially funded as a Kickstarter with an estimated completion date of late 2014, it remains in a self-styled alpha state to this day, with this video being uploaded in early 2022. Star Citizen is, by some margin, the highest ever crowd-funded video game, and one of the highest crowd-funded projects ever, having raised a staggering $400 million as of November 2021. The 2012 Kickstarter was composed of the multiplayer persistent universe Star Citizen game itself, and a single-player campaign known as Squadron 42. At present, Squadron 42 remains in internal development, with only aspects of the Star Citizen game available to alpha backers. Star Citizen is being developed by Cloud Empyrean Games, often referred to as merely CIG, a studio founded by Chris Roberts. Chris Roberts is well known for both his lavish and highly praised Wing Commander series of games from the early 1990s, and also for Starlancer and Freelancer, both reasonably regarded games of the early 2000s, the releases of which precede a notable drought in space games of any type as the early years of the 21st century progressed. After the successful Kickstarter to the tune of over $2 million, and a further $4 million from their own website, development of the game began in earnest. Crowdfunding continued through the intervening years, principally by the availability of tiered reward packages, which typically included access to various spaceships and in-game credits. Funding hit $50 million by 2014, and $150 million by 2017. Some funding also came by the way of private investment, with a further $60 million or so raised in this fashion. Releases and features have been continually pushed back from their initial release date estimates, and with Alpha version 3 onwards, no official release dates have yet been announced by CIG, though updates and new features arrive on a regular basis. The release date of Squadron 42 is also unannounced at this time. Star Citizen's development has also attracted significant press coverage during those years, with inflammatory articles posted by The Escapist and Kotaku being the most notable. Many early backers began demanding refunds from 2015 onwards. Terms of service regarding refunds for pledges were modified a number of times during this period as well. Between 2017 and 2020, a lawsuit was filed by Crytek against CIG regarding the usage of the CryEngine game engine. CIG was in the process of, unexpectedly, migrating to Amazon Lumberyard, itself based on CryEngine. The matter was eventually settled out of court in February 2020, but the sums involved were not disclosed. Suffice to say, the development of Star Citizen has been dogged by considerable controversy thus far. Many have accused the game of merely being a scam, selling vaporware to pledges. This is an easy accusation to make, and is popular with many clickbait YouTube and other social media influencers, but it doesn't really stand up to any objective analysis. The game is clearly marketed as an alpha, not a finished product, and there are multiple warnings about this prior to making what is also clearly marked as a pledge, rather than a purchase. Players are warned there may be progress resets and wipes at any stage. In order to continually play the game in its current form, you do need to pledge for a ship package. However, there are various and regular free-fly events that take place, allowing potential pledgers to install the game and test out both its performance and the scope of activities on offer. Whilst the game does require a fairly robust PC to make it work well, it certainly does not require high-end graphics card or state-of-the-art processors, another unfounded accusation thrown at the current iteration. In fact, the game can be made to work more than acceptably on mid-range hardware when various other components are optimized. Star Citizen works best with 32GB of available RAM, and benefits hugely from being loaded from a high-speed SSD, components which most gamers will already have on their shopping list, if not already acquired. Its performance is actually superior and more consistent than some other space games of comparable type which claim to be fully released. While some spacecraft that are on offer are yet to be implemented in the game, leading to the ridiculous accusation from some that CIG are merely selling JPEG images, if you choose wisely, you can acquire a useful small ship for a limited outlay, or avail yourself of the free fly events previously mentioned. And with your free fly or pledged spacecraft, you can then explore the Star Citizen universe. And this is where the game begins to truly differentiate itself from its contemporaries. Star Citizen's primary consideration is for a persistent universe, where players can jump in and jump out of activities, which then carry on whilst the players are absent. Ships, land-based craft, buildings and environments demonstrate a huge degree of interactivity, which is entirely unparalleled in any other space game to date. There are even trains and trams to catch. Ships have detailed working interiors, with sliding doors, cargo holds, turret guns, cockpits, and even recreational areas that provide an actual tangible interior environment for players to exist in, rather than just a soulless series of menus and fade to black transitions. Movement from ship interior to the outside is seamless. Extravehicular activity in the vacuum of space is possible, with cargo, items, suits, weapons and various other devices being treated as physical items within the game, rather than stats on an inventory sheet. Ships can also be damaged, physically losing their component parts, rather than damage being merely represented by a percentage health bar. Whilst the game features a mere single planetary system at present, though more are planned, the variety of environments on display dwarfs the homogeneous repetition of procedurally generated environments and simple cookie-cutter locales. Science fiction aficionados will spot homages to numerous sci-fi franchises, with ice planets, space stations, gas giants with floating cities, desolate moons, grim and unpleasant dystopias, sleek futuristic cities, and oppressive industrial townships convincingly recreated and fully explorable both inside and out. Planets feature lush and diverse environments, with different biomes and terrain, along with caves and a variety of settlements and outposts. Some even have thick atmospheres and adverse weather conditions to contend with. Star Citizen eschews menus wherever possible, presenting the player with in-game manipulation in its place. Much information is provided via a hologrammatic wrist display device known as a Mobiglass, and other important gaming functions require the use of kiosks or touchscreen displays. Customization of ships, clothing, and other aspects of the gameplay experience require the player to visit shops, again removing the intrusive menu ubiquitous to more pedestrian games. This interactivity extends to mundane items such as drawers and chairs, and to complex and multifunction ship interface panels. The overall impression is of an environment designed for immersion and context at all times. This approach is also reflected in the in-game lore and background, and where some other games have sidelined their lore, or cheapened it by the inclusion of tawdry and out-of-place contemporary irrelevancies such as winter and Halloween-themed costumes, everything that appears in Star Citizen has a lore-first design and a rationale for being present. Celebratory days, events, homages to players, and even food, drink and trivial discretionary adornments available have a reason for existing in the game. A good example is the Star Kitten armour. Whilst on first impression this may look trivial and even silly, it is based, in lore, on a classic cartoon in the universe of Star Citizen which played out in the year 2932, 20 years ago in the current time frame. This highly laudable approach to lore immeasurably adds to the sense of presence, believability, and integrity of the in-game universe. With the game having been designed around the player being an individual in this universe, all actions proceed from that assumption. Players can move from habitation areas, through shopping malls, to trade counters and even hospitals. Players physically board their vessels and can place items of cargo and even drive ground vehicles into the hangar bays of their ships in order to prep for missions. Many of the ships available are vast, designed for multiplayer usage, and having interior appointments that would be the envy of first-class accommodation on today's luxury liners. Some even feature secret compartments, kitchens and onboard sleeping areas. It's very clear that the Star Citizen universe desires to be seen to be a place to inhabit, rather than being merely a space game. This design philosophy is certainly remarkable both in scope and ambition. The height that could be achieved, and the scale involved is, absolutely breathtaking when you take a moment to consider the potential art of the possible. Of course, there is a caveat here. It's taken a not inconsiderable 10 years to reach this point already, and there's only one playable star system. Given its status as an alpha, there are also numerous bugs and gameplay issues present, and no release date in sight. Whilst it's clearly not a scam, and its ambitions dwarf those of its contemporaries by a huge margin, any prospective player must consider long and hard whether such a vision can actually be realised in a meaningful timeframe, or whether this endeavour is doomed to remain in a perpetual state of not quite realised potential. Star Citizen is certainly controversial, and very long in gestation, but it might just become the greatest space game ever created. See you in the verse, citizens.